need.
Well, I think what we'll do, and I don't know how, I guess we need to talk and figure out what's the question is going to be, because the way that we think that we're going to do it is that after each presentation, we're going to give people an opportunity to ask questions related to that individual. Because I think if I did a presentation and then people heard what I said, they're going to want to ask questions and not at the very end. And some people are going to be able to retain that question. So,
Yeah,
but
my
I think we
phone
switch it
is
up. So we just need to make sure.
underneath of that table somewhere. Probably my purse.
And Mike, are you coordinating anything? Who's coordinating with the
Introduce
questions?
the board. We have
I know
board
this is not
here.
going to be like it was
Please
before,
stand.
like when you were at a board meeting, where they
I say when you
take up
get
your-
to the point and you get ready to start as an equal voting position administrator, then you say at the time of take a moment to recognize board members.
Okay.
I could do
So
that.
I think Hillary probably needs to do that when she doing the introduction and giving instructions on how that's going to be done.
Because I know. It might be in there.
Yeah, because I guess the people will have to raise their hand and say they have a question, and then they have to come up to a mic. I guess she will select whoever's going to be the person.
Okay, what do you mean?
She said they can speak
Right.
into them.
So when they come up from the mic, those who know. And they only have what, a minute? How long we give them? A minute? 2 minutes.
Question?
2 minutes. 3? No, 3? No, 3 minutes. Some people expound.
They can just ask the question. I don't know if you're going to give them the time to
Okay,
answer
so
the
2
question.
whatever.
Whoever the question is, should be some written paragraph. The question should be pretty straightforward. Name. Cut it out. So, no, not politely. Say what's your question. So what is your question? Let me see what's your question.
If not, they can yield to the
Well, we got people all around who can answer that question.
Let me make sure they're rolling.
Don't tell you that.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Rockdale County Tax Symposium, Property Tax Symposium. Thank you all for taking the time to join us this evening. Our goal tonight is to provide a clear and informative overview of the property tax appeals process. Representatives from the Board of Assessors, Board of Equalization, and the Tax Commissioner's Office will walk through each phase, helping to explain how assessments are determined, how appeals are reviewed, and the role each office plays in ensuring fairness and transparency. We also want this to be an engaging and informative experience for our community. At the conclusion of each presentation, we will open the floor for a question and answer session, giving you the opportunity to ask questions and gain a better understanding of the process. At the end of each presentation, if you have a question, please raise your hand and you will be asked to walk down and speak into the microphone to ask the question. We appreciate your interest in learning more about how property taxes are administered in Rockdale County, and we look forward to a productive and informative evening. At this time, I would like to introduce you to our three presenters. First, we have Madam Clerk Janice Morris, who is the Rockdale County Clerk of Courts and the Administrator for the Board of Equalization. In the middle, we have Honorable Tisa Smart Washington. She is our Rockdale County Tax Commissioner. And to your left is Director Will Barkley. He is the Director of the Rockdale County Tax Assessor's Office. Thank you.
All right, good evening. My name is Will Barkley. I'm the Chief Appraiser of the Rockdale County Board of Assessors. I've been with Rockdale County for roughly 28 years. I spent a year and a half in the finance department prior to moving over to the assessor's office and getting involved with property taxes. That was something that I had no idea that I would be taking on the task of doing that when I went to college. So my background is in finance. I have an accounting degree from Georgia State University. I've also taken all of the certifications through the Georgia Department of Revenues, and receiving the highest certification that you can receive is the Appraisal 4. So I have those certifications to help me as far as in my job today. So tonight, I really appreciate all of you guys coming out and wanting to learn more about the assessment and the appeal process through the Board of Assessors, the Board of Equalization, as well as the Tax Commissioner. So I commend you guys for being able to come out to do that. And the job that I do is a challenging job, however, but I do take a great deal of pride as far as in trying to establish fair market values throughout Rockdale County. So I can't do it alone. I have a team, and part of my leadership team is my Deputy Chief Appraiser, Mr. Max Terry. He's in attendance with me tonight, as well as Ms. Siobhan White, the General Manager. She's in attendance as well. And also I have Mr. Mendez Jeffries, who's our Administrative Manager. Mr. Terry is responsible for all of the residential property valuations, as Ms. White is responsible for the commercial, industrial, as well as the mobile home and personal property valuations. And Mr. Jeffries handles all of the homesteads, all of the deed transfers, and things of that nature. And we have a support staff that's also in attendance that's helping us tonight. So thank you guys for attending. So my role tonight, as far as part of the presentation, is to talk about the summary of the appeal process. I cannot start the summary of the appeal process without first jumping into what I consider is the mass appraisal process. And I know you ask, what is the mass appraisal? And I went to find a scientific definition for mass appraisal, and it reads, the mass appraisal is the systematic valuation of multiple properties at one time using market data, property characteristics, and standard valuation models to ensure fair and uniform property assessment for taxation purposes. And I repeat and underline the word taxation. The role and the responsibility of our valuations are for tax purposes. They're very different from the valuation of properties for a bank or another financial institution based on that particular interest as far as what they're trying to come up with a value. And most valuations are done based on a subjective opinion of value based on certain standards that we all must follow. So some of the key steps as far as in the mass appraisal process that I talked about is the collecting of property data. And that involves the assessors going out and having appraisers review each piece of property, looking at the characteristics of the property, identifying all of the components of it, and determining what a value would be. So we look at the market sales, we analyze that. And in analyzing the market sales, we want to dictate and figure out what is going on in the market, what's going on also within our current region, our neighborhood, and also in the metro Atlanta area. All of those things have an effect as far as on the sales and market value. So the next step is that we develop what we call valuation models. And within these valuation models, we're going to look to see what these sales are doing compared to the assessments that we currently have. And based upon those assessments, we create an estimate of property values. And those estimates of property values are tests we take to ensure that we're doing things correctly. So those are done through what we consider sales ratio analysis. A sales ratio is basically something that we take and we have a assessed value of property and we look to see what properties are selling for. And if they're in line with what the market is dictating, and the state requires that we be between 0.36 and 0.44 of the actual sales price. So if we're not in compliance, the county can be cited for that. After we do these testing to make sure that we're accurate, at that point, we then turn out and we send an assessment notice. Many of you are familiar with the notice of assessment. We send those out annually. And once you receive those, you have an opportunity to file an appeal. So we'll move forward as far as in the summary of the appeal process. We talked about the mass appraisal process. Now, this summary of appeal process is based on Code Section 485311. And this Code Section 485311 is actually a code section that every county in the state of Georgia is governed by. So the appeal process in Rockdale is no different from the appeal process in DeKalb County, Clayton County, Fulton County, Walton County, or Newton County. All these counties have to follow the same guidelines as far as the appeal process. So as I stated, we send notices out annually. They're mailed out. And because of Senate Bill 566, if you do some research on that, that is a bill that was passed this year. That's the reason that the notices have not gone out right now. And this modification to the assessment notices is going to, I guess, there are a couple of things it's going to do. It's going to keep some of the information that's currently on the notice. Particularly, you still find the previous year's value, the current year value, and what type of exemption that you currently have. That same information will be on the notice. However, there are several things that's going to be removed from the previous year's notice. Last year we had what we call was an estimated tax rollback. That is no longer going to be on the bill, nor will the estimated taxes be on the bill. Those things are being removed because of Senate Bill 566. So once we get the go-ahead, the notices will be out within the next couple of weeks, we're hoping. Now, we're anticipating of sending out 39,000 notice of assessments. And that's real, and that's also personal property. Real property is considered to be all commercial, all residential, all industrial property, as well as agricultural. Now, personal property, that could be considered an airplane, that could be considered a boat, as well as the contents inside of any business. That's considered personal property. Now, I know you probably want to know about filing an appeal. Once you receive the notice, it's highly important that you file your notice of appeal within 45 days of the date of the notice that was mailed. You may do this via mailing it back to us, or you can come in personally and deliver it yourself, or you may be able to send it electronically, but you have to get prior approval prior to being able to send it electronically. Now, the three different methods that you may choose to appeal or paths that you may take is the Board of Equalization, a hearing officer, a non-binding arbitration, or you also maybe go directly to Superior Court. I must admit that requires an agreement between the Board of Assessors Office. And we have not in the past allowed individuals to go directly to Superior Court without trying to resolve this appeal beforehand. We found that it is more productive to try to resolve it before it gets to the Superior Court level. So what can you do as a taxpayer in order to support your appeal? I would suggest getting a certified appraisal in support of an appeal. That appraisal data, supporting evidence, should reflect the January 1st valuation date, because in the state of Georgia, all properties are valued based on a valuation date of January 1st. So we want to make sure that the information that you submit is relevant to an appraisal date of January 1st of that particular calendar year. Now, you also have access to the Board of Assessors information. You may request the detailed information as far as in what information we utilize to come up with your assessment. You also may ask in detail as far as how did we come up with that value. So we are required by law to provide you that information within 10 days. And I must also point out, when you're looking to get information from us, a lot of times we have individuals who are asking, can you send me the 3 comps that you use? We don't use 3 comps in that particular manner, because what we do is mass appraisal. The 3 comps are more for a fee appraisal. They can go find 3 comps that are very similar to the property within a certain mile range in order to come up with a valuation. We do mass appraisal. We're valuing an entire neighborhood at a snapshot in time. So the sales that we use are going to be over the entire neighborhood or a surrounding neighborhood or a sister neighborhood as we look at it. So I mentioned the 4 different approaches as far as methods that you can follow as far as with your appeals. The Board of Equalization is the primary one that most people select. And those appeals, they handle value, uniformity, taxability, as well as any denial of an exemption. These hearings are scheduled and conducted within statutory timelines that are established by Georgia law. I won't go into great detail in that because that is a part of the purview of the clerk's office. They handle those Board of Equalization appeals. Now, there is a hearing officer. You can choose to go that route. However, in order to qualify for a hearing officer appeal, this must be a non-homestead property and it must be valued over $500,000. The hearing officer must be a certified appraiser in order to be able to hear that hearing. The other option would be a non-binding arbitration. This is by far the most expensive one because you do have to pay for an appraisal, as well as if you're not victorious in the finding as far as the final value, then that individual will be responsible for paying for the arbitrator's costs. So, and finally, I mentioned the Superior Court. As I stated, that's another avenue as far as you may choose to go. However, if you go before the Board of Equalization or you go before a hearing officer and you're not happy with whatever that decision is, you can file an appeal to Superior Court. However, in order to file that appeal to Superior Court, you must have what we call a settlement conference with the Board of Assessors office prior to that filing. And that settlement conference must be something that's in good faith as far as a attempt to try to come up with a resolution before going to court. And I wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of our information as far as how to be able to get in touch with the Board of Assessors. We're located at 958 Millstead Avenue, Suite 101. And you can reach us at 770-278-7676 or at voa@rockdalecountyga.gov. And that concludes the information that I wanted to share today. I wanted to leave as much time as possible to answer questions, because normally I get a lot of questions. So I think we're going to open the floor for questions.
There we go. I was waiting on it. So, Chief, would you have them to line up behind each other and then they could just come in?
Can I make one point before you ask that question? My apologies. Good evening, everyone. I'm Tisa Smart Washington, the tax commissioner. When the assessor mentioned the 45-day window when the tax assessments go out, I also wanted to make you aware of the fact that that's when our digest season starts. So the law prescribes that you are given 45 days to appeal. Once that appeal is over, then we start the preparation of the tax bills. Because the assessments are delayed this year, then there's an expectation that the tax bills will be delayed as well. Whenever the tax bills go out, you're still going to get the same 60 days to pay that tax bill as in every other year. So the deadline might change, but the amount of time that you have to pay that tax bill will not change.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mickey Walker. I have been in Rockdale County since 1999. I had a couple of questions because you talked about looking at property taxes in the homes in your neighborhood and surrounding neighborhoods. My neighborhood was one of the first neighborhoods built on McDaniel Mill near that roundabout. Since that time, the houses that have been built around me are almost twice the size of my house. I would love to have a sitting room in my bedroom, but I don't. But all the other places around me, they have that. So I'm concerned, number one, there's 14 homes on my street. No one has sold a home in years. So if you're looking at my taxes assessed by the property around me, I have a problem with that because the property around me looks way better than the property in which I own. And it's disheartening to see that those amounts are going up, and yet I can't buy a house for what you guys think my house is worth that looks like my house. I can't buy a house in the surrounding neighborhoods that look like their houses for what you think my house is worth. So I'm just concerned that you're using numbers and you're using homes that are not similar to the homes in my neighborhood. There's only 14, and most of us have been there for years. So how does that work?
So if you don't have enough sales within your particular neighborhood, we're going to go outside of your neighborhood in order to find other sales that are similar properties, similar construction, similar types of homes in order to try to establish a value.
But there's no similar. We're the poor homes.
Well, no, there are some similar homes in Rockdale County at somewhere as far as where we can establish a value. May not be necessarily be within your neighborhood or nearby,
Okay.
but there are similar homes, similar size, similar type of construction as far as for me to be able to establish a valuation for it.
Okay, so you wouldn't necessarily use the homes that are around my neighborhood that are not within the same scope of my neighborhood?
Well, ideally, what I would like to have is sales within that particular neighborhood. So if I don't have sales in that neighborhood, my next step is to move outside of that neighborhood. If I don't see sales nearby, then I'm going to look for similar type of homes that are somewhere else in Rockdale County to be able to establish a value.
Okay. And then my next question is, you were talking about being able to request supporting data when you're filing the appeal. Can you get the request for supporting data for your home if I'm not filing an appeal?
You can, absolutely. You know,
Okay.
you can always ask for that information as far as how did we establish the valuation for this particular year. So you can just send in a request for that.
All right, that's all I needed. Thank you
Okay.
very much. You all have a
Thank you.
great day.
You too.
Thank you.
You say you go by the valuation in a neighborhood. Do you take the square footage of the house into consideration, or is that just what a house sold for on your street?
We take all of the characteristics of whatever the property is within a neighborhood. We look if your home sold, and if I compared it to, let's say, a brick home and your home was a wood home, then there would probably be a different valuation of it as far as based on the sale.
Okay,
But I'm looking at sales of, ideally, whenever I want to look at a comparable piece of property, I want to find things that are very similar to whatever the property is in order to establish a
okay,
value.
so if a house sold on my street that's 3,000 square feet and mine is 1,500 square feet, you're not going to compare their sale to my house.
No,
is
your
that
home
correct?
wouldn't be a good comparable to that particular piece of property because
And you would know that, and you wouldn't base it
yeah,
on that?
we have the square footage of it. We would know the
Okay,
square
I was
footage.
just wondering because you said you based them on a neighborhood.
Yes,
Well,
we-
there's no other houses in that neighborhood, my square footage. You can't do it there.
So if you recall at the very beginning, I talked about the characteristics of the properties. When we go out, we analyze the properties. We look at all of the characteristics
Okay.
based upon whether or not it's brick, it has a basement, finished basement, unfinished or whatsoever. Those things are factors that we look at as far as in establishing the value. So part of being an appraiser, there's part of it is called the valuation based upon substitution, as far as what a different component would add to the value of a whole. So we look at all those things when
Thank you.
establishing the value. Yes. Sure.
Good evening.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
I got a lot of questions. I didn't write them down, but
We're going to limit you to one or two of them if you got a whole bunch of them.
I'll keep you here all night.
I see.
How many certified appraisers do you have on staff?
Right now, I think I don't know the exact number of certified appraisers, but we have myself, Mr. Terry, Ms. White, we're all a certified appraisal force, so we have the highest standard that you can get as far as from an appraiser. I know we also have an appraiser 3, and we have another individual who's actually seeking to be an appraiser 4. So we have quite a few appraisal 4s on the staff as far as having an understanding and knowledge about the mass appraisal process.
So you got 3
No, I said I had more than 3.
or 4.
Okay, 4 or 5, 6. I'm
How
not
many
sure.
appraisals do you do in the field in a
It-
year, roughly?
I'm not sure. What do you mean?
How many times do you go out and appraise a house physically?
We look for the valuation of a home as based on January 1st is our particular valuation date. So January 1st being the valuation date, we will probably be going out, depending upon how many sales occurred in that particular neighborhood. We may be out in that neighborhood within November, December, based on the sales. And then we come up with a valuation that we submit for a notice of assessment in April.
I have filed appeals probably every year in the past 10 years at least. And I've gone into the office and asked how you arrive at the appraisal on my house, wherever it was. And I've never got a straight answer. Nobody's ever they never told me. And later on, about 2 months, maybe a month, I get comps on 3 houses. What is the range that you can use a comp for in miles from my house? You said that you can go X number of miles.
No, what I said was that was actually a fee appraiser. I said they can use their appraiser for a certain amount of miles.
How
The
many
apprais-
miles would that be?
I don't know. I'm not a fee appraiser. I'm talking more from the mass appraisal process. The process that I have, I can utilize any sale that occurred within Rockdale County as far as it means to be able to establish a valuation for properties within the county that are very similar to properties.
Well, I understand it's 5 miles.
Well, that may be for a fee appraisal. I'm not a fee appraiser. And those are appraisals that conduct business for a bank or for some other financial institution.
Last appraisal on my house when I filed an appeal was 7.5 miles from my house, next to Henry County property line. And the young lady that you had representing you at the appeal process seemed awful young to me by her voice, but she said, "You're not restricted to miles."
No, I just stated we're not restricted to miles. That is a fee appraiser. That is someone who works for a bank or another financial institution. They have those restrictions as far as the range that they can go. We are not restricted by that because this property is in Rockdale County for tax purposes. So we can utilize all of the properties within the county as far as a means to come up with a valuation.
I may raise my hand again in a minute.
Okay, thank you. All right. Yes, come on up.
Good evening, my name's Leslie Lambert. So here's this, and this is more edification and clarification. House Bill 581 freezes at the 2024 valuations, correct?
That is correct.
And then bases the increase on the consumer price index, correct? So if it's 1%, that's what your rate's going to be, right? Okay. So I have a rather unique property. It doesn't compare to anything around me except maybe my neighbor, and his house is smaller and clad, mine is brick. So when I bought this, just for an example, they couldn't do comps back in 1997. I had to buy out land outright to buy the property because I couldn't find any comps. So it's kind of interesting to me, not complaining. It's kind of interesting to me because how do you find comps for a property that sits in the city and it's 11 acres?
So in a situation like that, you know, you're going to have to look outside of the scope of where the normal things.
Okay.
So, and remember, what I'm talking about is mass appraisal.
Right, I understand that.
And with that, I'm trying to do an entire neighborhood. However, when you have a unique piece of property, for instance, I'll give you an example. Several years ago, we had a home that was a log cabin home.
Right.
We didn't have any comps that were being sold in Rockdale. So we had to be creative as far as in finding something very similar to come up with a valuation of it. And we have to look at the construction cost of it to be able to depreciate down from that standpoint and utilize some other sales that we had to come up with a valuation. So,
Okay. So, but I did want to clarify House Bill 581 for people and basing on consumer price index. Thank you.
you're welcome. Have a good day.
We have time for one more question, and then we'll move to the next presenter.
You come on.
We'll have time at the end for other questions.
Okay. The question is for the board assessor? It's more for the board.
Kind of, sort of. Good evening, my name is Kimberly, and I'm a senior. I am 66, and I'm trying to get some clarity on, do seniors in Rockdale County get an exemption, and at what age? Because I think I applied for it when I turned 65, but I don't see the deduction on my tax bill. Also, is there an income cap? Because my husband does work. And also, do you consider Social Security? Is that exempt, as well as VA benefits? Or is it just W-2 income? How's that assessed?
So that depends on what type of exemption that you're applying for. If you're applying for a low-income exemption, those things are factors as far as for an exemption. Now, for a senior's exemption, the standard senior exemption is someone who's 65 years old or older. However, you have to be 65 as of January 1st of that particular calendar year in order to qualify for the exemption. So what it does is that it gives you a bigger exemption on your school taxes. That's the main thing that the senior exemption does. Now, if you were a disabled veteran, that would give you the biggest exemption that you can get. I think that's like $120-something thousand off of your assessed value. That's the largest exemption that you can receive. But
Okay,
you have to get something from the VA stating that you're 100% disabled in order to qualify for that.
Okay, and it has to be P&T, permanent and terminal?
Yes, it does.
Okay. The other question that I have, well, I actually did apply for my exemption. I'm 66, this is my 67th year life.
Okay.
And I didn't see the school exemption, but I also understand that there was some errors on the tax invoices. Is that correct?
So we'll look it up. We'll look it up just to make sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm so confused and I don't know which, because I applied for my senior exemption. My husband still works.
Okay.
So, he's not at retirement age, but I am, so.
Yes. Just to be on the safe side, we have someone in the back. They have access. They can pull it up and find out
Okay.
what exemption you have. So if
Okay.
you would step to the back, they'll be able to help you out.
Okay, thank you very
They
much.
can clear it up real quick. Is that it? Or
Just to let them know we do have resources.
they got you guys want?
Come on up, Ms. Tanya, I'm sorry. Which one? Who handled? Did he
Real
stood
quick,
up?
can you clarify the school tax? Because some people think when they reach a certain age, they're not liable for the school tax. I heard you say that there's a reduction, but can you just speak on that for Rockdale County?
Right. Currently, Rockdale County does not offer a full exemption from the standpoint where you're totally exempt from your school taxes. You still are liable for school taxes if your home value, the assessed value, is probably more than $50,000. So if the assessed value of your home is more than 50, you will pay some school taxes. So there's not a full exemption for that.
And I'll add to that. Prior to 2023, the school exemption was 30. School exemption currently is 50,000. Prior to 2023, it was 35,000. But home values were at a level where the exemption was enough to wipe out any school tax that you would have paid. Because home values have gone up, that exemption no longer wipes out the tax. That's why the school board 3 years ago increased it from the 35,000 to the 50,000. But we're seeing a significant amount of seniors that may not have paid taxes before. They're paying taxes now because the value of their home has gone up to a point where that exemption no longer wipes out the tax that was due.
Can we take one more question and then move on? Can you come up?
It was someone else had their hands up.
This gentleman here, there.
Hello.
Hello.
Two questions. You mentioned that the appraisal needs to be, if we wanted to have an appraisal done, it needs to be done as of January 1st, right? How do you backdate that? Because our property taxes bill doesn't come out till, July, August, or whatever, but you want it backdated. How do you properly assess that?
Okay, I answer that question. As an appraiser, they can look at make a time adjustment based on a particular date. So the appraiser will be responsible for making an adjustment as far as what he deemed the value of your property would be as of January 1st of the year. So if you have any appraiser, they have a date as far as what they're reflecting on, what they think the current value of your property as that date. So in order for you to file an appeal, because in Georgia, the valuation date is January 1st, that's the value that we establish for all of the properties in Rockdale. That appraisal needs to support that in order to make sure that we are looking at the same thing.
And the tax bills as well is based on that January 1st value. So even though the tax bills come out in September, the value that we're basing that tax on is the value as of January the 1st. Okay. And the ownership as of January the 1st as well.
Right.
Okay, and my second question, when you were discussing the senior exemption, what happens if one person of the homeowner if it's two people, husband and wife, one is 66 and the other one is 62, are they still eligible, or are both required to be of that age?
If both names are on the deed, then yes, they're eligible because you are a unit, you're one. And if one of them qualifies, then the unit qualifies.
Okay.
Meaning if the spouse was, like you say, was 62 and the other party was 66,
just throwing it out
yes, they would qualify.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.
I'll remember to marry a younger person. Okay. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Ooh, the time has come. Thank you all for coming. I am Janice Mars, and I am your elected Rockdale County Superior State Clerk of Court. Today, we bring you on May 17 a unity among all three of us, because Rockdale County, you asked for this. You've never been that all three of us come together, because we have to work in sync together. The Board of Assessors, Tax Commissioner, and me, Janice Morris, is your administrator for Board of Equalization, where, as you're hearing, when a decision is made and you're not happy, not uncertain about if you want to move forward with your property or any appeals,
it does come through my office, the clerk of court office. And now, again, that yields to the Board of Equalization. I am the administrator for the state of Georgia. That is mandated straight down to the clerk office through the Superior Court, as well as working collectively with both our agency. So today is your day because we want to put partner clarity for all three of us at the same time. So there is a step-by-step, and we are the steps that you all going to get until we get to Superior Court. Now, we do have our Superior Judge here, but we're going to yield to her because we also say when you go to Superior Court, that is the last place you will want to go. We're going to work this out. We do our best to work together collectively, and that's what the Board of Equalization does when you have a hearing and you have the right to a fair hearing. And that's our leadership. All right. I do have my team. My team is with me. They're the most experienced more than I am, so I'm going to be clear. They're going to be here to be the one to go over the PowerPoint and things that is going to get you from point A to point B, partner clarity, that we leave here with no misunderstanding. How we did that, we came together collectively, all three of us, to have our team with our laptops, everything you would need to know about your property or what the next step that you deserve. And I'm going to say this word, you deserve to know. We're all here together. So between my team and the Board of Assessors Office and the Tax Commissioner, y'all can't get better than that today, okay? So I'm going to stand. I'm going to ask my team to come forward. I don't know how to do a clicker. Danny, click. There you go. Yes, that is me. A lot of people ask me when they see that picture. Yeah, that's me. Okay. However, I love short hair now. So, again, I'm the Honorable Janice Morris. Thank you all so much for being here. Here we are with our mission statement. I'm going to have Chris to come forward because I did not have my glasses, and she will read the mission statement and move forward. Chris is our administrator for the Board of Equalization, so you have to go through Chris when you're ready to set your appeals. So now you also have a face and name go together because her and Maya, please stand forward, and the administrative manager will be Ms. Billy Hubbard. Those three are my team that works collectively to make sure our statements and y'all hold us accountable for our next steps.
So good evening, everyone. So just so you know, our board members are property owners in Rockdale County, and they must be high school graduates and also be able to serve as a grand juror. Right now, I'd like to recognize, I have three of my board members here now. If you don't have to stand up, if you just want to,
wave your hand.
That's four. Oh, I'm sorry, we have four. I want to ask you to stand up if you could just raise your hand. So Ms. Pamela Glore, we have Mr. Archie James, Ms. Tanya Phillips, and Ms. Erlene Corbett. Okay, so before hearing appeals, they have to be sworn in by the clerk of Superior Court and complete 40 hours of training. You gonna have me go through all of this, or you gonna?
No, that's okay. You just go through.
Okay. So the purpose of the Board of Equalization is an independent board consisting of 3 members that I just introduced and 3 alternate members appointed by the grand jury to serve a term of 3 years. And the duties and powers of the board is charged by law to hear appeals of property tax matters that include value, uniformity of value, taxability, denial of homestead exemptions, and denial of special assessments, as Mr. Barkley spoke of. In terms of representation, the property owner has the right to be represented at the hearing by an agent, attorney, or an appraiser of their choice. The property owner must submit the name of that person representing them prior to the hearing date. And unless accompanied by the property owner, no one will be permitted to speak or present on the behalf of the taxpayer unless we have written permission submitted to the board. So preparation for the hearing, the board will hear pertinent information concerning the matter under appeal. So what happens with this process is once we receive our appeal paperwork from the assessor's office, we'll send you out an appointment letter, so you get a notice for your hearing date, and those notices usually go out no less than 20 days before your hearing date and no greater than 30 days. So once you receive your notice of your hearing date, you'll have the opportunity to come and appear in person or by Zoom, and you also have the opportunity to reschedule, but you only get one option to reschedule. There's only one chance to reschedule. You can record the hearing, but you can record it with your own device. We don't provide any devices for you to record the hearing with. So the tax assessor has the burden of proving his opinion of value by the preponderance of evidence. Once everything has been compiled, when you come for the hearing, each party has 10 minutes to present. So the taxpayer gets 10 minutes to present their case, stating as why they think their home should be valued less than what was assessed at. And then, of course, the tax assessor's office has their 10 minutes. Once everything has been received, the board will take a couple minutes to deliberate and they'll render a decision. So you'll get your decision on the day of the hearing. And as Mr. Barkley stated, if you are not satisfied with the decision that was made that day, you have 30 days from the date of your decision letter to file an appeal to Superior Court. That is pretty much all I have. Does anyone have any questions? Did I leave out anything?
I'm going to yield to a couple of questions on that for clarification. Yes, sir. Just to iterate a couple of things that Ms. Chris mentioned, each party, keep in mind, each party, each one have the opportunity of 10 minutes to present. Often I see 72% of people do not bring their evidence. You have the right of your own burden of proof to bring those documents with you on that day or submit it prior to that date. The biggest things that I do see is when, Madam Clerk, no one heard me, I didn't know. You have to know this because it goes both ways. Same way like you present yourself with a lawyer. The lawyer has to present that document for you. You also representing yourself. Please present your document. However, we want to make sure we continue to tell the citizens, please provide your burden of proof. What that look like, as the Board Assessor's Office mentioned, look how you search out about your comps. You could deal with any agency that could help represent you legally, that I'm gonna say, legally to help represent you. So therefore, you could bring your niece, your cousin, anyone with you, long as you give us permission to talk to them while you're in the middle of your hearing. But that is what I see the most majority of. People do not bring comps or either their evidence or burden of proof of what they will say why their home value is not what it is. So please prepare those things, and I promise you some of the things will go a little bit more smoothly.
And in terms of evidence, it has to be submitted 7 days
mic.
prior to the hearing date. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
In terms of the evidence, it has to be submitted 7 days prior to your hearing date to allow the assessor's office time to review it as well. So you can't come to the hearing on the day of your hearing with evidence. You can bring it, but I can't guarantee that it will be considered.
Okay. All right. And we have,
Any questions?
yes, sir.
All right, so our point of contact information is, what? I'm sorry.
Just that. Chris, you could get back to that part right there.
I don't have a real question. I have a statement. 2024, when I filed an appeal, I called the clerk, whoever it was, 5 or 6 times to find out when my hearing was. She was never there to the phone. She told me she never got my phone calls. And by the way, you passed the date for your appeal, and I lost out in 2024. And the tax people said, well, maybe I can get together with the new commissioner and we can work something out to give you some relief. I'm still waiting for that phone call. That's all I got to say.
Yes, sir.
Maybe the person who handles that information should not have 2 jobs, because that's what she told me. she had other jobs that she had to attend to, so she wasn't able to man the phones, and she never got my messages.
Well, I do apologize on the behalf of that. I'm not sure exactly when that took place, but I can say to you, we will do our part to be more responsible and more detailed answering the calls because they are coming in so fast. However, keep in mind, and I want to share with you, we only had one employee that was related to handle all of that for the BOE. Thanks to the commissioners, now we have 2 employees that be able to help mandate those powers, okay? So that's it. If we failed that statement by not answering your call, Mr. Dowd, Mr. Bauer, I do apologize for any inconvenience. But hopefully you get all your answers. And I got an opportunity to talk to you one-on-one. So therefore, I came forward after I heard your complaint, okay? All right, I apologize. We do have what is called frequent asked questions, because if we say some of this, you could go ahead. And then we'll know that we got a couple of them answers already, the frequent asked questions. Okay. Nope. Don't want to do that. And this is the circumstances that we see a lot with the stakeholders. So they just basically frequent asked questions that people tend to ask us. And sometimes we say, we try to put this on the website.
So some of the most frequently asked questions would be, what is the cost to file an appeal with the Board of Equalization? There's no cost at all for you to file an appeal with the Board of Equalization. Next question would be, when are hearings scheduled? Our hearings are typically Tuesday through Thursday, starting at 9 a.m. and usually concluding no later than 2 p.m. Can I reschedule a hearing? Absolutely. Each property owner may reschedule his or her hearing with the one-time option only. What happens if I miss my hearing? So that's a very good question. If you happen to miss your hearing, it's still going to be heard in your absence. We're going to treat it as a no-show. And with or without evidence, depending on if you submitted anything, and you will receive a certified letter in the mail stating what the decision was. And you still will have 30 days from that date of the decision letter to file an appeal to Superior Court. Can I withdraw my appeal? Yes, absolutely you can. Typically, we want that 5 days prior to the hearing date, but you can submit it on the day of and before we get started, and we'll still accept it. May I appeal the board's decision to Superior Court? Yes. So once you've had your settlement conference with the assessor's office and you file to the Superior Court level, there's a $25 filing fee that you'll have to pay. How can my appeal be heard by a hearing officer? So in order for that to happen, it has to be a non-homestead property in excess of $500,000 a day.
Chris, stay in the mic for me. Stay in the mic for me. Thank you.
Period. Yes, sir.
I thought I heard you say that the hearings were between Tuesday and Thursday.
Yes.
And that said Monday through Friday. Which one's correct?
That was an error. So that's an error, but it's Tuesday through Thursday. Yeah. We typically use Monday to prepare for Tuesday, and then use Friday to wrap up everything. Mm-hmm.
Okay, now we're going to get to the point of contact.
Is this, which information's on the website? What question? But the time?
Chris, we can't hear you. Come to the mic. What's the question for everybody?
Well, she was asking the question if we had the correct date for the hearings on the website. It doesn't reflect Tuesday through Thursday or Monday through Friday.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Anything else?
Okay. Administration, point of contact.
And here's our contact information. Direct number would be 770-278-7925. And you can email us at boe@rockdalecountyga.gov. And also, if you want to visit the clerk's website, it would be www.rockdaleclerk.com.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Chris. And I'm going to pause for any questions for the clerk of court office, Board of Equalization. That sun is like really getting me. Jesus said, let that be light. And there it was. Any questions for me? My goal is to stay transparent with the public on all aspects of what we do at the clerk office, and as well as that we work collectively together. There's things that I cannot answer on the behalf of the board assessors, nor would I answer questions related to the tax commissioner. I love all of you all, but I cannot step over my boundaries to make sure I answer for them. But what I will do is always have my resource Rolodex with me at all times, and that is my cell phone. So if I can't help you, at least I could connect you to the office and locations to where you need to go. I understand, Commissioner Tisa, you mentioned that it's going to be a delay in us receiving. So maybe? Okay. All right. So soon when you all get those letters, please feel free to call and make sure you prepare everything you need to. And if you're uncertain about what we mentioned, this information will be on the website as well. I will also put the PowerPoint up. But also, if you walk, when you get ready to leave, we do have a brochure of the board equalization process. Feel free to pick those up as well. Okay? Yes, ma'am. Come on up. Oh, thank you. I felt like my... Good evening.
Hi. I understand that the property taxes beginning in January, you could use a payment plan. There's a payment plan that's available to us. Can you explain how that works?
Okay. Yeah, that's a question for me. So I do offer payment plans in my office. Again, Tisa Smart Washington, the tax commissioner. You cannot prepay your taxes yet. So once your tax has become delinquent, we will allow you to get on a payment plan. Our payment plans are up to 6 months, and it's structured in a way to help you pay off that tax before the next tax bill comes. We usually advise people in my office to wait until January to come into my office and set up a payment plan. And I do that for 2 reasons. One, your tax is technically not delinquent until November the 15th. So if you get the bill in September and you set up a plan in September, then you're actually setting up a plan when the tax is not delinquent yet. So I don't want you to burn through your 6 months when you actually have a little extra time you still have that 60 days to get your tax bill paid. The other reason we wait until January is because in our office, a lot of our process is still very manual. So if you mail in your tax bill, if your mortgage company mails a check, we're still processing those payments manually. So we want to make sure that we're not applying any late fees, that we're not applying any penalties to a tax bill that may be in our office, but we just haven't entered that information into our system. So we want to clear out all of the payments that we've received through the mail, make sure that we've processed everything that we have, and then we'll go ahead and start setting up those payment plans for you. So if you have any questions about a payment plan, even if you receive a notice, a tax sale notification notice, you can still come in and get on a payment plan, and your 6 months will start from the day that you come in. The only thing that we avoid doing is that if you're not the owner of the property, we will not allow you to get on a payment plan. But if you're managing affairs for a parent or for someone where you have responsibility over their finances, come in, sit down with us, talk to us, and we'll work out whatever we can work out with you. Fair enough? Did that answer your question?
Yeah. We have a question over here. Come on up, Judge Wood. We have our Honorable Judge Wood, our Superior Court. She would like. You're all okay. Y'all saved by the bell. Okay.
I'm not here to hijack the meeting. I'm here to observe because I live here and this is very good information. But I am standing in the capacity as one of your 2 Superior Court judges here in Rockdale County. I serve with the pleasure of our Chief Judge, Judge Nancy Beals, who is also one of the Superior Court judges in Rockdale County. I wanted to make sure, because you heard about the appeal process and you heard about the Superior Court and that you do have the right to appeal to Superior Court. I just wanted to, number one, remind some of you, and some of you it may be new information, the entire purview of the Superior Court in Rockdale County. And there are just 2 of us. We hear all of the felony criminal cases. Just last week we had a murder trial that took the week. We hear all of the domestic cases. We hear all of the issues for title to land. We also hear appeals from lower court. So as you can imagine, we are a very busy court. It is very important that you go through the statutory process that has been laid out. And the good thing is you got that code citation, and I just Googled it on my phone just to see what would pop up. And if you put in OCGA 48, what is it?
5311.
5311, it will pop up, and it will tell you those steps just in case you didn't get a chance to write them down. If you go through the process of the Board of Equalization, or you choose to pay for an arbitrator, and you are not satisfied and you want to take your appeal to the next level, you have to follow the time frame that is prescribed by law. If you miss those deadlines, that will be a procedural reason why you will not be able to move forward in Superior Court. Madam Clerk heard a question about, or a statement about a situation where there was a phone call and it wasn't answered in a satisfactory manner, and about the deluge of property tax calls her office is starting to field, and the explosion that the Board of Equalization has had in the amount of hearings. As you can imagine, that would also apply to the Superior Court as well. So the one little bit of advice I have for you, if you decide to move your appeal process all the way to the very last step, which will be the Superior Court, which is not very often that it gets to that point before there's a resolution. Most of the time, by the time it gets assigned to my court, there's been a resolution that's reached. But for the few times so far that I've seen that, one of the things that I have noticed is you have to understand that there will be an attorney that is there. And if you come in and you represent yourself in the Superior Court, it is the highest level trial court in the state. And so you are held to the same standard as an attorney. So just as the explanation was given about coming to the Board of Equalization, making sure you have your documentation in a row, please do not come to the Superior Court and say, I feel like my property is being overvalued. Because that is not the standard, and come empty-handed, and please show mercy and grace. Unfortunately, I can't just show mercy and grace. I have to look at the documentation. So I'm assuming that by the time you get there, you would have done all of those things, and you would have your own appraiser, and you would have talked to the assessor's office, and you all just have reached an impasse. The other thing is, I had a calendar last week or the week before, and there were 2 cases. And on one of the 2 cases, the homeowner had refused to talk to the assessor. They just wanted their day in court. Well, like I said, you have to make sure you follow those policies and procedures, and it was on the slide. You have to have a settlement conference. So, we didn't just throw it out. We said, hey, we need you to go and talk before you can come here. But I would have been, under the law, able to just throw it out on his face because that settlement conference didn't happen. So, sorry to hijack. I said, that last part about the Superior Court, don't throw all your eggs in the Superior Court basket. It might take you a long time to get there. And when you do get there, the other side will have a lawyer, and you will be held to the same standard as a lawyer, even if you do not have the law degree and the bar license. So thank you all. And thank you for this presentation.
No, we appreciate you, Judge Wood. And again, we don't want to go to that end, but I'm going to go ahead on and yield. And after, I will give some data on how many do go Superior Court and chose to go all the way up to the top. But just to say this, if we have 2,000 appeals, Many of them have made a decision in agreement upon the Board of Assessors office, where now we only gonna see in our hearing, maybe about 900. I'm just throwing out different numbers. But it could start out with 2,000 people want to appeal, but because of the arbitration and the agreement between the Board of Assessors office, guess what? It's only wind up about 900 people or so want to appeal, after they find out and educate on what the process looked like. Okay, I'm gonna yield to Madam Honorable. Oh, you know how to use the clicker?
We're gonna find out.
Okay.
All right, let's see. Oh, okay, there it is. Good evening again. I am Tisa Smart Washington. I am the Rockdale County Tax Commissioner. I have been the tax commissioner since 2017, so I'm coming up on 10 years next year. Prior to that, I was the Chief Deputy Tax Commissioner in the Rockdale County Tax Commissioner. So I've been in the office since Tax Commissioner's office. So I've been in the office since 2013. Like Will, I have worked in county government for a long time. I've lived in Rockdale County for a long time. So I moved here in 2002. So I've been here 20, what is that? What's my math? 24 years? Oh, 24 years in June. So I've seen a lot of the changes happen in Rockdale County. The work that I do in my office, I do not do alone. I have the best tax commissioners staff in the state of Georgia. And a lot of them are with us today. So they have on the blue shirts with the Rockdale County logo, tax commissioner's logo.
These?
We have our the dark blue shirts. I have my Chief Deputy Tax Commissioner, Chris Tutt. He's sitting over here. He's been with our office for about a year and a half now. And he has hit the ground running. And I'll talk about one of the things that he's helped us do in just a second. And we have our Deputy Tax Commissioner, Karen Johnson, in the back. And again, the rest of the staff is here. So if you have any questions, if you want to pull up your tax bill, if you have questions about your specific property, they are here to help when we get to that portion of our session tonight.
Yeah,
just a little bit about me. Again, I've been in Rockdale County since 2002. I earned my undergraduate degree from Georgia State University in communication. I have a master's in business administration from Troy University. I also have a master's in public administration from Harvard University. And so that is your tax commissioner.
Yay.
Okay, our vision and our mission statement is on the screen. It's a little wordy. Vision, we want to set the standard for government. I say that a lot of times people will never go to the sheriff's office or they'll never go to the courthouse, but everybody comes to the tag office, you know? And so for a lot of people, the experience that you have with us is really the only experience that you have with county government. I always say that, you know, they say in church that the closest to Jesus that you'll ever get are the people that you meet in church. You know, the closest people to government that you may get are the people that you meet in the tag office. So we want to make sure that we are representing the county well and that we are serving the citizens to the best of our ability. And we do that by adhering to our guiding tenets, where we're working smarter in the tax commissioner's office. And we focus on service, our mission and metrics, accountability, accessibility and accuracy, responsiveness, and we prioritize transparency and technology. And we do that under the umbrella of education and respect for all. For those who don't know, we are in our new location. We're on West Avenue. We used to be right here where they're building the new courthouse, but we've been on West Avenue for about a year and a half now. Our service center is the old Bank of America building, and our administration office is the building next door. So a lot of people sometimes park at the administration building and then they have to walk over to the bank. So if you're coming to see us, the parking is at the back, go straight to the back. Bank will be happy to help you there. We are working on opening up our drive-through, so hopefully, Chief, we'll have our drive-through open.
Hopefully sometime next year.
So you won't even have to get out of the car. But one of the things that we are working on is if you've ever used the kiosk at Kroger, we're installing a kiosk at our service center on the outside of our building, so you can pull up right through the drive-through. You'll be able to renew your registration without even getting out of your car. So hopefully we'll have that done
By the end of the summer.
By the end of the summer. Yeah.
I love how she pointed right to you with the clicker.
I don't know why I was pointing with the clicker. Our hours are here on the screen. We're open from 8 to 4:30 every day except for Wednesday. On Wednesdays, we're there from 9:30 to 6. That is our late day for those of you who may not be able to visit us. And I always get, but you close for lunch. The previous tax commissioner closed for lunch, but he hasn't been the tax commissioner for almost 10 years, and we haven't closed for lunch for almost 10 years. So anytime you want to come and see us between those hours, we are open and ready to serve you. I have 2 numbers on the screen. If you have any questions for anyone in my office, you can dial 770-278-7600. If you want to tell the people in my office that they are doing a wonderful job, please call that 770-278-7600. If you are not happy, please call the other number. That's directly my desk number, 770-278-7605. If you want to send the nasty gram emails, please send them to me because my staff, they hear a lot of, they get a lot of calls. They serve a lot of people. And if you're not very happy, I'd rather you call me first. Okay, one of the initiatives that we are working on, well, actually 2 that I want to share with you. One of the things that we hear a lot from seniors is that they just need some relief from the rising property taxes, that the taxes have gone up and their incomes have not. And we've heard you. And one of the things that I have tasked our chief deputy with is developing a program where we can provide some type of property tax relief starting with our seniors. So we're looking at developing a fund. We've been researching what other counties offer, any programs. There's a program in the city of Atlanta where they're able to offset increases in property tax bills. So we've been doing that research. We've met with consultants. And, hopefully we'll have something that even if we cannot administer, because that's, one of the hiccups that we found, that as tax commissioner, it's not something that I can oversee. But I can definitely convene the powers that be so that we can, come together, as the clerk has said, to put something in place to help. We can't take care of all of the increases, but maybe offset the impact that those increases can have on your households. So we're working on that. Our next initiative is our SWAT team that we're working on. And SWAT is the Smart Washington Academy of Taxes, where we are going to bring folks in to have a seat and really learn how taxes are calculated, what they mean, the impact that they have. Because, I really feel that you should be able to do the same math that I do at your kitchen table and get to the same numbers that I get to. If you can't, then there's an issue. And we want to make sure that we're empowering you, because I hear a lot of misinformation. I see it online. I see it on TikTok, see it on Facebook. And they're well-meaning neighbors and friends that may be giving you advice that will put you in a position that you did not expect come the end of the come the time that the tax bills come out. And at that point, there's nothing that we can do. So I want to make sure that if any information is being shared in the community, that it's correct information. If you have any questions, you know exactly where to come. And with our SWAT team, we're focusing on external and internal education. So education for the community, as well as making sure that my staff, that everybody that works in the office, that they have the most up-to-date information. There was one citizen who asked about HB 581. There's a lot of changes that have happened to how your tax bill looks, how your taxes are calculated, and we want to, again, make sure that everybody is as versed as I am in the process. Because it may be that you've gone through a process and you were expecting a different outcome, and it's not that we're doing anything nefarious. It is just that the process has changed and the word has not fully reached the masses. All right, so we're gonna, start with tax bills for 2026, what they look like, what you can expect. So there are a couple of things that I want you to look out for. So there are a couple of acronyms that we use in the office that you should be aware of. The first one is FMW, that's your fair market value. That is the value that our tax assessor places on your property at the beginning of the year. And that's the value that's going to be on your assessment notice. Prior to 2025, the fair market value is the value that you were taxed on. Because, so you could sit down with your neighbor and you can compare your tax bills and you can say, I got, this is what my property is worth, this is what your property is worth, and you can, kind of see, just to make sure that everybody's getting the same thing. Since HB 581 went into effect, you're not able to do that anymore, because even though you have a fair market value on your assessment notice, depending on your situation, you are not taxed on that fair market value, or you may be taxed on a different value than your neighbor. We'll talk a little bit about that in just a second. What HB 581 created was what they call an FSW, and that's the float statewide. You don't see that anywhere on your bill. Actually, on your 2025 bill, there is a spot for FSW, but there is no value in there. And that is because it was my desire for 2025 to have your float statewide value on your bill, but we couldn't get the data out of the system in time to have that printed on the tax bill. So there's a space there for it, but there's no value. That is the way that you get that value for your tax bill for 2025 is you look at what you were taxed on in 2024. So for 2020, so this float statewide, this FSW, this is your frozen value. So we're gonna get back to that in just a second. That's your frozen value. And your base year is the value that we use. That is going to be your frozen value. We use your base year, and your base year is the first year that you qualified for homestead. Is that right? First year you qualified for homestead, starting in 2025. So because we didn't have a float in Rockdale County prior to 2025, the first year that anyone got it was in 2025, and it is based on your 2024 value. So whatever your value was in 2024, that is your base year. But you had to have had a homestead in place in 2024 for you to qualify for it.
Right.
All right, so in 2025, on your 2025 bill, your base year is your 2024 value if you had homestead in 2024. If you were approved for homestead in 2025, your base value is your 2025 value. So that's where we are right now. And what your tax bill was based on in 2025 was that base year value, which was which value? 2024. Okay, you guys are tracking. All right. All right. So for 2026, this year, it is going to be your base year value plus CPI. CPI is the Consumer Price Index. And actually, the way that the law reads is that it can be based on any index. And an example of that is CPI. But for 2026, the state used the CPI. And for 2026, that is 2.7%. So whatever your base year value is, whether it's your 2024 value or your 2025 value, the assessors is going to add 2.7% to that value. And that's how we come up with your float, with your float value. Now, there are two calculations that the law said that we have to make. So we have to look at your float value, which is your base year plus your CPI. We also have to look at your fair market value. That's whatever your current value is. Whichever is lower, that is the one that we tax you on. So we may not necessarily tax you on the base year plus CPI if your fair market value is lower. Okay? So if you had homestead in place prior to 2025, your base year again is your 2024 value. If you just got homestead in 2025, then your base year is 2025. Okay? All right.
I will repeat that so they know that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
so what we tax you on, this is just a different way. What we tax you on is In 2025, we tax you on your 2024 value. Okay? No, that was just for 25. Last year, your tax bill was based on your 2024 value. Okay? This year, your tax bill is either going to be based on your 2024 value plus CPI. If you had homestead in 2024, that's yours, your 2024 value plus CPI. In 2026, if you just got homestead in 2025, then it'll be 2025 plus CPI. If you just get your homestead in 2026, then it'll be your fair market value for 2026. So you, okay, so your homestead exemption is an exemption that you apply. Did you
Want me to answer that?
Yes, go ahead.
You sure?
Yeah, you go right ahead. You go right ahead.
The homestead exemption is an exemption that you receive based on the fact that this is your primary residence. You have to own and occupy as your primary residence in order to receive that exemption. Now, there are different levels of the homestead that you may qualify for. If you actually go to the Board of Assessors website and look for the link under our website, there's a section for homestead that identifies all of the different homestead exemptions. So we have a flyer that's on the website that tells you the different exemptions and the amount that you will receive for each exemption. So you have to own and occupy the property as your primary residence, and you cannot receive it on any other property.
In the state?
No,
Yeah.
it's outside of the state. You can't receive it on nowhere in the country. You can only have one. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So you can only have one homestead, regardless if you own property in Florida, California, or some other location. You can only have one homestead.
And one of the things that people should be aware of is that you have to own and occupy the residence. So if you're renting out, if you're Airbnb, then you don't qualify for that homestead exemption. The standard exemptions that we see, or the most common that we see, are L1 is our standard exemption. If you own a home in a property in Rockdale County, you qualify for an L1 exemption. And that gives you an exemption of $15,000 on the county portion of your tax bill. It gives you an exemption of $15,000 on the school portion of your tax bill. And it also, and you also get the host credit, which is a credit against the county portion of your tax bill. And the amount of that credit varies from year to year.
Yes, and I think last year was, what is it?
Last year was 55.24% of the county portion of your tax bill was paid by the host credit.
And it's automatic, you don't have to apply for it?
You have to apply for the homestead, but you don't have to apply for the host. You automatically get the host when you receive the homestead exemption. You had a question? I'm sorry, you had a question? Okay.
No. The only time that you would apply for a different exemption if there was a change as far as in the ownership of the property, or if you move to another home, you would have to apply for a different exemption because the exemption doesn't go with you. So if you
I've got the homestead exemption, now turns 65, so I have to apply.
yes.
In my opinion, that should automatically kind of go with the homestead without me having to reapply for something new.
Well, actually, yes, that would probably be great if we could do that, but ideally, I have no idea as far as when you would turn 65.
Correct.
So there's no way for me to know when property owners within the county turn 65.
And
again, now I'm gonna have to wait until next.
Well, the law requires that you have to be,
Ms. Jean.
you have to qualify based on January 1st. So whatever the qualifications are on January 1st, that is the valuation date for property value as well as exemptions. So any exemption that you may qualify for, you have to qualify as of January 1st. There is the valuation date for all property in the state is January 1st. So they use that same premise. So any exemption, you must meet those requirements as of January 1st.
yes.
Going along with that question, if somebody misses the exemption and they want to upgrade it to another category of the exemption, let's say in February or April, and they apply, will that take effect the next year? Or
Well,
do they have to come back January 1st?
as I stated, whenever you apply, whatever you qualify for, you have to meet those deadlines. And let me also give you the notion that the deadlines are not deadlines for Rockdale County. These are state deadlines. So there are not any, I don't have the latitude to be able to say, I'm going to be able to make an adjustment because I feel as though there was a charity case or a sympathy of something of that nature, as far as because the person was hospitalized or for whatever reason. You have to be able to meet that particular deadline. There's no,
If you apply, you miss the deadline of January 1st, and you apply for it in February, will it stay on the record and then the next January take effect?
well, January is not the deadline. The deadline is April 1st, but based on January 1st, yeah, the deadline is April 1st, but you have to make certain that you are 65 or whatever by that particular January 1st. That is a different kind of deadline. That is just you qualify based on that. However, we can receive the application up until April 1st, and we can actually receive it year round as far as, and there's also another twist to the law for this particular year. So 566 also made another modification as far as you can now continue to apply for homestead up until the time that you file an appeal. So you got 45 additional days that you can still come and apply for homestead. So that's the extension from Senate Bill 566. So, but you have to meet all of those guidelines in order to still qualify.
And just to go back to the different types of exemptions, the most common exemptions, the L1 gives you the 15,000 on both. There's also an L6, which is our senior exemption. It gives you the $15,000 exemption on the county portion of your tax bill, plus the host credit, and then a $50,000 exemption on the school portion of your tax bill. There's also a disabled veteran, 100% disabled, permanent and
Totally and permanently
yes.
disabled.
And that is an exemption. That's the highest exemption that we offer. It's $121,000
Yes.
exemption. And if you receive a determination that is retroactively applied, then we will retroactively apply that exemption 3 years.
It's, the way it reads is that it's the current year plus 3 additional years. Three additional years. So the most that you can get will be the current year. You get that plus 3 additional years in arrears. So it can retro to three additional years.
And if you're approved for that exemption, if you apply with the tax assessor's office, he will transmit the information to me, and we'll go back and refund those years that you have already paid. One change in our office that we have made, because of Madam Clerk, is that it was usually our policy to refund whoever paid us. So if your escrow account paid us, then we would send the refund to your escrow account. We've now changed that policy. If you qualify for the veterans exemption and it's applied retroactively, we will refund directly to the homeowner. So you don't have to go back through your escrow account to receive that refund. Okay? Any questions about, yes?
Ms. Lynn, how you doing?
I have a question about the senior exemption for school taxes. Where do you apply? Can you do it online, or do you go to the office?
It's with the assessor's office.
Yeah, all of the, if you wanted to apply for an exemption, you can do it online. You go through the Rockdale County Board of Assessors website, which takes you to a link to Q Public. And there is a section or a module, at least, as far as for you to apply for a homestead exemption there. You can do that year round. Yeah.
Any other questions? I think I saw, yes.
Yeah, on the senior for the education for the 50,000, is that also falling under House Bill 581? You could be,
Your value is frozen for that as well.
no,
Oh.
that's not my question. So if I miss the April deadline date, is it like, so will it enact this year or will it not?
The window opens again when the assessment notices go out, so you'll have until 45 days after the assessment notice goes out to apply for this year.
If I've applied,
Right.
but it was May, it was in April, but past April 1st, is that gonna enact?
Right. So last year there was, this law actually took effect last year. And some of it was not clear as far as how the guidelines were going to read as far as when you actually can apply. It was mainly associated with applying during the appeal period. And the question became, do you have to file an appeal in order to apply for the extended homestead during that time? So this new law states that you can apply for the exemption up until 45 days after, during the appeal period. So now, if you came in, let's say if we sent the notices out on April 29th, if you came in on April 15th, then you wouldn't have an opportunity to apply. But because of the new law, you can apply past the April 1st deadline up until the point where you got 45 days from the notices.
So, because I said, I filled it out, she said, this won't go into effect till next year, and I said, yeah, I think it actually will.
Right,
Yep,
And she said, we haven't been told that, so.
right,
it will for the current year.
I understand that people are still learning, but I just
yeah,
wanted to clarify. Thank
yeah.
Yep. Yep, you had a question?
For clarity, I want to make a statement for the other side of the game. I've been on with over 20 years. I'm level 4, Cobb County, 22 years. If you hire somebody to prepare your taxes, make sure they have to, Will correct me, they have to win the case. You no longer can just file the appeal to get a frozen value. And
Right.
they're taking advantage of a lot of older people. That, like you got, I won't say it last name as well. They send you a lot of mass appraisals out, a mass advertising. We'll file your appeal for you. But they make you sign papers and you don't understand. Once you click on it, they get the file. Not in all cases, forever. Like next year, because they have to win. They may not charge you any money up front. And as I'm on the other side of the table now, I do. But I see a lot of old elderly people come in and say they filed my taxes and they charge me, but you don't get a reduction because you have to win now. So that's one of the things I want to say. We're correct, man. That's what
That is correct.
Yeah. So and this is another thing. I have to learn all this stuff right here. So again, when you do an outside person, you want to make sure you have to go to the courthouse. I have to pay for CoStar. CoStar's like $500 a month. I don't have a Benz because I have to pay CoStar. So you have to make sure you're getting the right people and do, because they take advantage of a lot, not old and young. So I just want to say that again. Last thing I want to say, under $500,000, make sure you talk to Will, because $100,000, just say your house $300,000. Most of those cookie cutters. That's hard for Will to mess up. But over $600 million, I probably can get it. But old little places like that, talk to them, make a deal, because it's really hard to mess up cookie cutter houses. Thanks so much.
And to his point, I've seen the commercials too, and they grieve my spirit, because one of the things that they tell you is that
Onwell.
Yes, one of the things that they say is that if they reduce your value on the appeal, that's when you have to pay them. But because of HB 581, you may have a reduction in your value, but your tax bill stays the same, because what you appealed is not what we billed you on your tax bill. So be very careful when you're paying somebody to do this for you, even if they say you only pay if we win. You may absolutely win, but you don't see anything off on your tax bill, because that's not what we actually taxed you on. So come see us first. We'll walk you through. We'll look at your tax bill. We'll walk you through line by line, just to make sure that it is going to benefit you in the way that you think it's going to benefit you. Okay, can you guys see that? Like, I know my... Okay, so I'm sorry. I tried to make this... I'll put this on my website. But I was trying to show you the difference between your 2024 tax bill and a 2025 tax bill. Is there a way to zoom in on this? No? Okay. Okay, all right. So, thank you. Let me see. I'll tell you what the numbers are. I have it a little bit closer here.
And
so for your 2024 value, this is the same property for 2024 and 2025. The fair market value in 2025, which is that yellow box, was $278,900. That was the 2024 value, $278,900. And on the county portion, which I highlighted in red, the exemption there is $15,000. So HB 581, the way that we reduce your tax bill to what we what your value was in the previous year is that we use an exemption. So in 2024, the exemption was $15,000. The same property in 2025, the fair market value was $309,800. So it went from 278 to 309. But if you look on the exemption line for 2025, the exemption that this property received is now $27,360. And that is because they received their standard $15,000 exemption and then an additional, $12,000 exemption to reduce that taxable value back to what it was in 2024. Where you need to look on your tax bill is on the taxable value line on your tax bill. So if you're comparing your 2024 to your 2025, your 2024 taxable value should be exactly the same as your 2024 taxable value. That's where you want to compare. So if you go home and you look at those 2 years and those taxable values are different, call me. Call that 67605 number, because your taxable value, that's what we taxed you on, is the same. And this is why you can't sit down with your neighbor anymore, because the exemptions may be different from your neighbor than for you, than for your cousin, than for your aunt. But you want to make sure that you're comparing apples to apples. So you're looking at taxable value for 1 year to taxable value for the next year. So when your 2026 bill comes out, you still want to look at your taxable value. So you're comparing your 2024, but remember, we're doing the base year plus the CPI, the 2.7%, but we're comparing the taxable value for 2024 with your taxable value for 2026. Any questions about that?
So those should match, and then
On your 2024, 2025, it should absolutely match. If it does not, come in, we'll fix it.
and then you're adding your.
It doesn't match? No way. See, did I set myself up for the? Yeah, let me see that. I'm sorry, you guys. Let me look at this because it should match. Absolutely.
If I'm reading it wrong, you show me.
Okay. 24 and 25. It does not. Okay. All right, I'm gonna meet with you after this. Okay, so we'll look at that tax bill, and if we made a mistake, if there was a glitch in our system, if something happened with our technology, we'll fix it. Now, one of the changes to the law for this year, and I can't remember if it's in Senate Bill 33 or in 33, that if there is a mistake that is made moving forward, as long as it is in benefit to the taxpayer, we can't fix it. So if we didn't charge you enough, then amen, go with God. You get it for that year. We'll fix it on the next year. We won't go back and we won't make any adjustments. And that's what the law says. But if we make a mistake and we've charged you too much, if you've already paid, we'll absolutely issue you a refund. You don't even have to ask us for it. And usually what I found is that if it's one issue, that it may be affecting multiple parcels, and so we'll go about trying to figure out how all of the parcels that it affects, and we'll go ahead and issue that refund if that's what we should do. So I'm going to take a look at that bill at the end of the session. Any other questions? Yes.
I have one more. It doesn't have to do with this.
Okay. Well, let me answer this gentleman's question, and then I'll come back to you.
I don't think they can. Can I just yield for a second? We are live stream. Your question is the same question for some people who may not be here. If you don't mind coming to the mic, please, team, would you mind turning the mic around so he could come up? I apologize, but sir, if you don't mind, Nikki hear you.
Yeah, there you go.
You okay?
Okay. What was your question? Yes, so the tax amount is different. So his question was that the taxable value is the same, but the tax amount is different. Well, what changes every year is the millage rate. So in 2024, the county millage rate was 18.69. The Board of Commissioners actually reduced that millage rate in 2025, and it was 18.282. So you have a difference in millage rates, so that's going to create a different tax due for the county. If you see, the school had the same millage rate from 2024 to 2025, so the amount on the bill is the same. So for the county in 2024, the bill was $1,804. For 2025, for the county, it was $1,765.31. But for the schools in 2024, the school tax was $1,931. And in 2025, it was $1,931, so it stayed the same for the schools. And then the host credit in 2024 was 50 point, y'all keep me honest, anybody remember off the top of their head? It was about 50% in 2024, so the host credit against the county portion of the tax bill was $934.48. In 2025, it's 55.24%. So we got a little higher credit in 2025. And on this bill, it was $975.16. So this tax bill went down from 2024 to 2025. Okay? Okay.
I know how it is to try and watch these at home. So question, if somebody's in arrears on their taxes and they want to fix that, do they go to the bank or the administrative building?
You can go to the service center, the bank.
Okay.
And they'll set up a payment plan for you there.
Okay.
Yes.
Not for me.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. One thing I want to make sure that people are aware of as far as the appeal process is concerned, if you file an appeal, you have the right to request an 85% bill. Really, in Rockdale County, we bill everyone at 100%, and the reason that I do that is because if you file an appeal and you win your appeal, or if you file an appeal, no matter what the decision is, you don't owe us any more money. The only outcome is that we owe you a refund. If I bill you at 85%, which is what the law says when you file an appeal, you will most definitely have to come back and pay that other 15% if you withdraw your appeal, if there's no change, if you have a reduction but it's not as much as you thought it was going to be, you still owe us more money. And the way that I found to manage it more easily is we bill you at 100%. Once you've paid us, you don't owe us anything else. We owe you a refund if you win your appeal. If you would like an 85% bill, because there are people in our community who do, all you have to do is request an 85% bill and we'll be happy to generate one for you. Or you can just pay 85% of that bill and it is considered paid in full until your appeal is resolved. Once your appeal is resolved, we'll either send you a refund or we won't send you another bill, but we'll send you a refund. If you want to have an updated bill, you can absolutely request one from my office, or you can go on the website and the updated bill would be reflected once your appeal has been finalized. Any questions about that? Yes, sir?
I filed an appeal in 2023 and won the appeal, and the county owed me money. It took 3 months for your office to send the check.
Yes, it did. Yes, because Madam Clerk said that it was about 2,000 appeals. Really, it was about 3,000 appeals that are filed every year, and it's still a manual process in our office. And that was the one thing that I was going to say about our chief deputy. Before he joined our office, all of the appeal adjustments were made by me. So I was toiling through the night, manually updating the appeals, and it takes a long time because you have to go into each individual account to do that. And so with the addition of when Chief joined our office, now we have our whole leadership team that is working on getting those appeals out, because we understand that, once you file your appeal, you want to get your money as soon as possible. It was just a staffing issue while we weren't able to get those out as quickly as we had hoped. No, not at all, not at all. You know, I'll be there until 11 o'clock at night trying to get these appeals done. But one of the things that, so I appreciate your grace, so thank you for your patience. But I just want people to understand as well that once your appeal is, adjustment is made, we cut checks on the 15th of the following month. So if we get it in, what is this? This is the 7th of May. If it's finalized this month or in our office, because once it's finalized by the Board of Assessors, then they transmit that information to my office, and then we have to make the adjustment. If the adjustment is made today, then we will cut you a check on the 15th of next month. But you can always call the office to see where in process that is.
So let me chime in just a little bit just to reiterate why the process takes as long as it takes. So once you file your appeal and once the decision is made, we have to hold that appeal for 30 days to give you an opportunity to decide whether or not you want to go to Superior Court. So that's 30 days from the decision at that point. So it has to be heard by the Board of Assessors as well. They have to make a determination whether or not we're going to sign off on that decision as far as whether or not they want to go to Superior Court also. So once we make that decision and sign off, then we forward that information to the Tax Commissioner's office. The Board of Assessors are only meeting twice a month, the first and the third Thursday of each month. They're meeting. So you could have a window of that's 6 weeks as far as before a decision is made and forwarded to the Tax Commissioner. So that could be part of the issue as far as the slowness as far as how an appeal or refund is processed.
Any other questions about that? Yes, ma'am.
Just clarification on the host tax credit. That $975 only applies to the county M&O.
Yes.
Correct? So the county will only get $800 of your tax bill, the school still gets $1931.
Yes. Yes. Did everyone hear that? Yes. Yep. And that amount changes every year, the amount of the host credit. If you've been in Rockdale County long enough, you remember when the host credit was 100% of the county portion of your tax bill. And I went back and I looked at the figures, and about 10 years ago, it took about $12 million to cover 100% of the county portion of the tax bill. Last year, we would have needed to collect $45 million in host to cover everybody at 100%. And the county, so host, for those of you who do not know, is the extra penny in sales tax that we all pay, and that goes to offset the property tax bills. But the county did use 100% of the collections to offset the tax bills, but it just wasn't enough in collections to cover everyone at 100%. Okay, back to the numbers. Any more questions? All right, I wanted to give you the number again. Again, if you have any questions, if you want to set up a payment plan, if you just want to make sure that you have all of the exemptions that you qualify for on your bill, or you just want to tell my staff that they are doing an amazing job at the Tax Commissioner's office, you can call that number at 770-278-7600. If you have any questions for me, if you are not happy with the level of service that you have received, or if you want to just give somebody a hard time, please call me. 770-278-7605. I'll be happy to sit down with you, answer any questions that you would have, walk through your tax bill if that's what we need to do, just to make sure that you fully understand the process as well as I do.
Okay.
Yes, Lynn? Yes, you can find your tax bills online. If you go to rockdaletaxoffice.org, you can pull up your tax bills, and they go all the way back to 2006. You'll see the PDF, you'll see the payments that were made. All of that is online, available to you. Yes, ma'am?
What is the process if you want to appeal the VOA decision? Once you not reach the settlement and you want to appeal to Superior Court, what is that process?
So once you have the settlement conference and we can't come to any agreement, then at that point, we're going to forward you to the Superior Court. We're going to we'll take a $25 check from you. You're going to move forward to the clerk, not to the clerk of courts. I think we're going to handle that, and we're doing that electronically. So once you make that decision, then all of your information will get forwarded over to the clerk's office, and they will place you on a calendar. Mhm.
Yeah, with your $25.
With your $25.
Okay.
Yes.
I just want to say really quickly, you guys have actually automated that whole system at the office where you pay your taxes. So the way that that whole thing has now been set up, it's amazing.
Oh.
It is excellent. I pay my taxes with a check every single year to avoid that 3.5 credit card fee. And it's set up for tags, for property, for all kinds of stuff. It's set up so succinct that it's great. And I
That's
want
good.
to make sure that for all the complaining that I do, and I do a lot, I also wanted to hear that that whole process is wonderful. Now, people don't know how to park, so that's my biggest complaint. You know, I don't know why they don't see those lines and they're double parking, but inside, the process is great. I'm in, I'm out. Sometimes it's a little longer if somebody's not there or people have questions about their property taxes, and those poor people, they can't answer them. And so I think that's something you need to make sure that people understand. When you go to that office, you're either paying or leaving. That's it. You can't expect the people behind that glass to answer questions for you about your taxes and stuff, but they are quick, they're efficient, they get you in, they get you out. I appreciate that. I don't like the move, but I understand why you had to move.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. And a lot of the changes that you've seen, they've come from people just like you. That you've come in and you've asked if we can do things a little bit differently, and we do try to take all of the suggestions into consideration and do what we can to make the process easier. Because I said nobody wants to come and see me, so I want to get you in and out as quickly as possible, make it as painless as possible. So thank you.
Okay.
Let me see. Do I have? Oh, that's it. That's it from me.
You got a question?
Well, one more question. I go ahead, and it's 10 minutes to 8. Now, if we stay here past 8, I like T-bone steaks, medium rare. Make that two. Hash browns. Go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
At a previous meeting, you had mentioned that you were looking at hiring a firm to audit the homestead exemption. Are we doing that?
Yes, we have. We started that last year. I think it started around August of last year. The auditing firm came in, and they've looked through a lot of the records that we have. So I can say approximately 200 homesteads that we had on record have been removed for 2026.
Good to know. Okay. Well, we are about to get to the end of the closing of the day. I hope you all have gotten more information than you ever did before. I would like to yield to Tax Commissioner Tisa Smart Washington. Please do not listen to everything people tell you, okay? Because a lot of times they got credit. They don't want you to know they got the credit. So they're going to spawn by making you believe otherwise. That's why it was so important for all three of us to get together today, which I'm telling you, for the last 5 years I've been a clerk, we all have been joined by hips to make sure we are together. So if you ask a question and you're not sure about it, any doubt, don't do it, because you don't know what applies to you. I have seen so many opportunity for people to get credits, only if they just walked in and came to the experts, not your neighbors. I mean, you can get your neighbors, but realistically, be careful with that. I see that a lot. Secondly, I want to say be careful with the fraud alert. Soon when them tax bills come out, you all may be receiving phone calls from people you never heard before. Please avoid those calls, okay? They're going to try to tell you they could get your taxes down. People going to be calling me saying somebody put something on their home. The fraud is trying to fraud you. They really look out for they try to go after the seniors. Please start looking for your seniors, okay, in your neighborhood. Tax bills, please wait till they come out. Soon when they come out, start your process. Be aware of your QR codes that is coming in the mail. When they send you letters saying they can save all this information for you, please call our office first. We have a wealth of information and we have outstanding customer service, because I know the clerk of court office drives on 3 A's: approachable, accessible, and accountable. Please make sure you call our office before you apply for anything. Any doubt, don't do it. Just don't do it. Let us be the one to expertise get you where you need to go. But meanwhile, we are live streamed, thanks to the commissioner, and I do apologize for the inconveniency. We were supposed to be at the auditorium, but thank God we were able to have another place to come to due to conflict. Thanks to the commissioner for that.
I have one more thing.
Sure.
Yeah. One thing that I want you to be aware of this year, the state legislature and the governor has approved another homestead HTRG.
Homestead
Tax relief grant. I was like, what? HTRG. The homestead tax relief grant. The last time you received that was in 2023. In 2026, that will be about, on average, about $700, a reduction in your tax bill for this year. So be aware that there's nothing that you have to do to apply for it. It's automatically applied. However, be aware that that your bank, if you have an escrow account, your bank will usually adjust your escrow account based on the prior year tax bill. So for 2026, your tax bill will be $700 less. If the grant is not approved in 2027, then your escrow may be short that $700. Your bank will still pay your tax bill. Whatever the tax bill is, they will still pay it. But in 2028, they will try to recoup the difference that they paid in 2027, plus collect enough in 2028 to make sure that you're not short. So again, 2026, it may be $700 less. 2027, your tax bill may be $700 more, but in 2028, your escrow may be increased $1,400. So plan accordingly, as my mama would say when she would say the announcements at church. Please govern yourselves accordingly, because it's going to help this year, but if you're not prepared for that increase in the coming years, if the grant is not approved again, it may be, we don't know, it's from year to year. I just want to make sure that as many people as possible are aware that that may happen. But this year you don't have to do anything. As long as you have homestead for 2026, then you will receive the credit.
And I forgot one. I didn't forget. I'm going to brag on my team. Y'all was over here bragging on your team. You had the blue. You had the other blue. My team, would you please stand up in red? Rockdale County Clerk of Superior Court, as well as my board members of the Board of Equalization. Board members, we love you. But we want to thank you all for coming out. We couldn't have did it without you. Thank you, Rockdale.